palace. He's in the middle of the courtyard leaving, and God says to him, Isaiah, turn around, go back, tell Hezekiah, I've heard his prayer, I've seen his tears, I will heal him. I will give him 15 more years. And that's what happened. Now, the surprise in this story is that Hezekiah wastes those 15 years. He does one thing admirable. He builds this water course from the north into Jerusalem, so if the city is ever under siege again, there will be water in the city. And in fact, that water course, that tunnel, is the only thing built in the 8th century BC that you could see in Jerusalem today. You could go walk through that tunnel. And the water from that tunnel ended up in the pool of Siloam, which, you remember when Jesus heals the man born blind? Remember what he says? Go and wash in the pool of Siloam, and you will see. So that's the only thing Hezekiah does well in the last 15 years, and it connects them in a historic way to Jesus. But for the most part, he just wastes the 15 years. He does not learn to count his days. He does not gain a wise heart. In fact, 2 Chronicles says he spent those years accumulating wealth and being proud. Now, does that make any sense? He just was this close to death. And he knows when you die, you cannot take it with you. And he spends 15 years accumulating wealth and being proud. He wastes it. How many of you are 39 years old? Or 39-ish? Or a little beyond, half of 39? Doesn't really matter. The point is, are we learning to count our days and to gain a wise heart? Now, I want to tell you for a moment, I want to describe your lives to you for a moment. Really, I don't know you, but I know what life is like for most people these days. For most people, life is way too busy. It is way too full. Your schedules you are overscheduled. If you're in school, you're anxious about doing well in school. You have to have time for your friends. You've got all those activities. The pressure is on to achieve so you can go on and achieve again greater things. If you're a parent, probably you're also working. You're working on moving up the ladder. You want to accomplish some things, get further ahead. You all have things you want to possess, things you want to own. Your kids have schedules. Your life is hectic. That's how most people's lives are. Is that good? You can learn to count your days and gain a wise heart without being diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I want us to learn today how to gain a wise heart from the brief two verses in Ephesians. It says, be careful then how you live. It means to think carefully. To not just sort of dash through life. Think carefully how you live, not as unwise people, not thoughtlessly, not making foolish choices, but as wise, making the most of the time. That word translated time could also be opportunity. Making the most of the time, or making the most of the opportunity. The Greek word there, making the most of. Some translations say redeeming the time. It means seizing the moment. It means buying back what you lost. In fact, particularly it means buying back at the market. So if we let the market for us be that place where we work or go to school or hope to achieve or hope to gain possession, hope to buy things, buy your life back from the market. Whatever the market is that has your life so scheduled. Get it back. That means get it back by carefully watching, carefully making the decisions about what you do in life. So, make the most of the time because the days are evil. Now, I think for a lot of us that doesn't quite sound right. My days aren't evil. They may be very busy, they may be too busy, but not evil. I don't experience much evil. Maybe I see it a little once in a while. This Greek word translated evil is very dynamic. It can mean in poor condition. My days are in poor condition, or because of my days I'm in poor condition, physically or emotionally or spiritually. It can mean sick. The days are sick. No, you can make yourself sick. You can make yourself vulnerable to illness by being so busy, running from one thing to the next. It can mean painful. The days are painful. And isn't that true? Our lives get so full of what we want to accomplish, we want to achieve, we want to possess. We get so exhausted, so anxious. We start getting irritable. We get snappy. Our relationships and our marriages, they get painful because we're not tending to them or we're saying negative things to each other. Father, son, mother, daughter, relationships get painful. Make the most of the time. Buy back your life because the days can be so painful. It can mean, the word can mean spoiled. Your days can spoil what God created you to be. We think about all we know about the goodness of God, and God created you for a life that is happy and at peace and surrounded by love and full of the sense of achievement because you've found what God wants you to accomplish in the world, and that's what you're focusing on. It can be so wonderful in that way, but it can be spoiled because our life is so hectic. It can mean godless. The days are godless. Or, let me say it backward. There is less and less God in our days. God's supposed to be at the center. You committed your life to Christ. You love Christ. You said you would follow Him. You wanted to follow Him. And now God gets pushed further and further to the edge. Less and less God in your life. And friends, that can turn to evil. All that God created you to be can be spoiled. And that would be a tragedy. Therefore, it says, do not be foolish. Don't live senselessly without making sense of it, without understanding what's going on. Don't let your life be lived full of folly, of foolishness, but get a wise heart. It says, don't be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Be able to see the big picture. Be able to see how all these little things all fit together and lead one way or lead a different way. So how does this apply to all of us sitting here today? Well, God is urging us, learn to count your days, to gain a wise heart. See what it is, where life is taking you, and get it back. Get God back in the center. Get that one you have committed yourself to so much and love so much back in the center. We sang about that over and over again this morning. That's how it applies to any one of us. How does it apply to our elders, the church leaders? Well, one thing I would say is seize the opportunity. Take on the responsibility. Take a responsibility that you don't even know if you're ready for. You know the thing that bores most of us about being Christians? We don't take the risk of saying yes to something that God is calling us to do unless we are pretty confident we can succeed at it. As an elder, I say, yes, I'll do that because I know I can do it whether God shows up or not. You know, I got the skills, I got the insight, I've got the talent. As long as our relationship with God is all about whether you show up or not, I can do this, we won't grow. There won't be anything dynamic about our faith. We need to stretch and grow and be challenged and take the risks, and lo and behold, God will show up, and your relationship with God will be so much more. So I want to end saying a little bit more about my own story, or Jenny's and my own story. We do have hope that I'll survive beyond one more year. My doctor, who is the world's consistent pessimist, he is a realist about everything. If it's not scientific, it's not. He has said things like remarkable, astonishing about the way I've responded to treatment. Even he's beginning to believe I may live longer than the 1.5 to 2 years. So we do have some hope. But however that turns out, and Jenny would agree with me, this past year, which in some ways has been so full of shock, in other ways has been more filled with joy and meaning and surrounded by love and a depth of relationships of love, depth of relationship with God than any other year we've experienced in our whole lives. It reminds me of the Apostle Paul when he was in prison once. Wrote this to one of his congregations. He says, I wish that you could be as I am in every way, except for these chains. What I would say to you is, I wish that you could experience what Jenny and I have experienced this past year in every way, except for the cancer. My prayer for you would be that you would learn to number your days. Count your days. Gain a wise heart. Remember how much you meant it when you gave your life to the Lord and you wanted Him at the center. And buy back your days. Put Him at the center. And live the fullness of life that He wants you to live. Let me pray for you.